Tonight, the Premier's office hit by a cyber attack. Now the race to discover what data has been compromised. This as Daniel Andrews faces an integrity crisis. The Labor leader stays silent over his role in a corruption investigation. A wild police chase through Melbourne's west comes to a crashing end. A bride's wedding day woes after a vandal's rampage through Richmond. And later, the next generation tech saving lives on our roads.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Blake Johnson starts now.
Good evening. We start with breaking news. The Premier's office has been hit by a cyber attack and as yet there's no word on how big the data breach is or who might be affected. Cameron Bowe joins us live from near the Premier's office. Cam, the damage could be widespread.
Blake, there are concerns that state government data may have been exposed, and it's believed that multiple departments are at risk here. It follows the hacking of a company that works for the government. Now, that company specialises in gathering data and processing accounts documents. Anyone whose data has been taken will be contacted directly by the state government department affected, Blake.
Cambo there, thank you very much. Daniel Andrews is again defending his integrity as questions swirl about his role in a corruption inquiry. It's the fourth time in as many years his government has been under investigation by the corruption watchdog.
Decked out in protective gear, but it was Daniel Andrews' honour he wanted to protect.
I behave appropriately at all times. That's the oath that I swore. I take that very, very seriously.
The Age is reporting the Premier has been scrutinised in secret IBAC hearings over $3.4 million in grants made to the Health Services Union before the last election. The corruption investigation has looked at the Premier's role in the process used to award the grants. But he's staying tight-lipped and details will remain secret until after the election.
I've issued the statement.
Yeah, what's it in reference to?
I've issued the statement and I'll again make it very clear for you that if you want to know what IBAC is or isn't doing, then you should speak to IBAC.
It's the fourth time this term the Premier or his government has been linked to an IBAC probe.
This is unprecedented in Victoria to have a state government now investigated 4 times by the Anti-Corruption Commission. 4 times.
The corruption scandal overshadowed today's election promise by Labor, a $4 million mental health training program for apprentices addressing the high rate of suicide among some trades.
We have to ensure that the stigma is taken away so that we can have frank and honest conversations.
Matthew Guy was in Rosebud courting his local candidate, Sam Groth, to serve up a pledge of $200 vouchers for Victorian children to participate in sport, dance and scouts.
This $200 per child that's available to families can really offset some of those costs and those pressures.
A wealthy art collector is seeking to muster 50 independent candidates to try to force Daniel Andrews out of Parliament. Andrew King has offered to pay the nomination fees for those prepared to run in the Premier's seat of Mulgrave. The plan would create a record number of candidates to contest a lower house seat in Victoria. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Reports of a gunman loose in Melbourne's west sparked a wild chase overnight. Paul Dowsley joins us live now. And Paul, it ended with crashes and police searching backyards.
It was a noisy and dramatic night, Blake, for residents in Altona and Truganina. This was a long pursuit, up to 10 police cars in a row chasing this car. A police SUV was wrecked, 2 people arrested, aged 30 and 31, one from Altona Meadows, one from Altona. Tonight, they are still being questioned. Clearly agitated. A suspected gunman is arrested in Altona after evading police for hours. Mum! Heavily armed officers swarming suburban streets last night after a man was spotted with a handgun in Truganina. Police allege he'd been with 2 others in a stolen car which crashed at the local KFC on Leakes Road. They fled and one man was spotted running along a driveway, a street away. Police there later as they tried to find him. But he got into another car later, joined by a woman, and a pursuit began.
There was lights and sirens and flashing and everything going on left, right and centre. I've just seen coppers everywhere, riot, gear on, shotguns, dogs.
This video, shot by a motorist, shows him whiz by on Queen Street, a long line of police cars right behind him. Stop sticks were used to puncture his tyres, but he continued on, one wheel on its rims, the tyre left behind in a nearby street.
It was very scary, so loud.
As the chase wound through Altona, a police vehicle smashed into a front fence after hitting a civilian's car.
It was quite fast. It was all down the street and it just kept going for ages.
Doesn't make anyone worried, I think, that someone's running around the streets with a handgun.
The pursuit ended on Mount Street.
There was a couple of people running up the street.
The passenger arrested at the car.
Quite a few police kneeling on the ground and he was at the bottom of it.
The police told someone to get onto the ground, not to run away.
The man ran.
Just saw him bolt down the middle of the street.
This resident pointing police to find him.
He just told him to stop or that he would tase him.
They got him nearby.
I didn't know what to do. I was just like, is this real?
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
It's a tough time for house hunters with rental vacancies at record lows and soaring interest rates making it harder to buy a home. Rate hikes have cut the amount families can afford to borrow by more than $200,000.
Dozens of hopeful tenants for just one house in a nationwide rental crisis.
Just to let you know, it's a really crazy time at the moment. If you see something online that you haven't seen, apply for it anyway.
Every time there's a listing, it just goes really quick.
Some properties are getting 10 to 15 applications within a week. So it's just crazy times.
Vacancy rates have plummeted to a record low 0.8% in Australia, making it harder for tenants than ever before.
Provide pay slips, provide bank statements with current funds, proof of funds. Provide us with references.
At 1,670, welcome and best of luck.
Buying a home is also tough. The average family budget for a house has now been slashed by $214,000 because of soaring interest rates.
Dig deep, 71 can I say? Stick with me. We're just getting to know each other.
I've been in nearly for 30 years and this is as tight as it's been. Yeah, it's really a tough market.
And it's a problem tipped to get worse. The cash rate is forecast to rise to 3.85% by mid-next year. That would shrink the average budget again, meaning many families would only be able to borrow around $711,000.
If you've got a pre-approval and it's not far off expiring, it's best to try and get in and buy something now.
There is some hope for those in the market. Property prices are falling and industry regulator APRA is expected to reduce the stress test for getting a mortgage, although experts tip that will happen after interest rates have stabilised.
We are selling, sold! Congratulations, guys.
Christy Mayer, 7 News.
Aged care workers will soon get a boost to their pay packets. The Fair Work Commission declaring they'd been undervalued for too long. Unions have welcomed the 15% pay rise but warn it won't be enough to fix the aged care crisis.
Helen Platts worked in aged care for 13 years. Paid $27 an hour, she knows she could earn more working night fill.
It's a question that all aged care workers ask themselves, regular, why do we stay here for? And it's because we love these people.
After years of struggling, Helen, along with 300,000 other aged care workers, mainly women, are now in line for a 15% pay rise, worth a minimum $3.45 an hour, funded by the federal government.
These are the heroes of the pandemic. They deserve more than just our thanks. They deserve a wage rise.
The Fair Work Commission finding the current rates do not properly compensate employees for the value of their work.
We asked for this pay rise to be meaningful, and I really think it is.
A key recommendation of the Aged Care Royal Commission, unions say it's a start.
It will go some way to attracting or retaining people. It won't go all the way there.
Arguing a 25% raise would lead to better staffing and better care.
We need 35,000 extra workers a year in aged care just to meet the most basic level of care. So this is a bigger issue than just wages.
Saying staff are overworked and burnt out.
We still are not being valued as a workforce with 15%.
Fair Work has left the door open to further increases, with the discussion around the timing of the pay rise and whether it should be phased in to happen later this month. But that's only for staff in direct care roles. A decision for those in administrative and support positions hasn't been made.
It's a no-brainer, really.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
An Australian man has been killed while fighting in Ukraine. The 40-year-old veteran is believed to have been serving with the Ukrainian army on the war's front line.
Friends called him brother. On the front line, he was known as Ninja, but to family, he was Trevor.
Ukraine was in trouble and they needed people to help, so we came and helped.
Today, loved ones told 7 News Trevor was a very treasured and loved member of our family. Our depth of sadness at his loss is unfathomable. The 40-year-old was killed by Russian forces while fighting in Ukraine. He travelled to the war zone in May, joining a pro-Ukrainian militia group as a sniper.
This is tragic news. I remind people that the default advice is for people to not travel to Ukraine. It is a dangerous place.
They're very anti-Russian, an anti-Soviet ideology, very conservative social values.
Earlier this year, he was hospitalised after being injured in the skirmish.
I beat the odds once, so let's just see if I can do it again, I suppose.
But this time, he wasn't so lucky. Bringing Trevor Keldale's body home to Brisbane may be difficult. 7 News understands the federal government will help where it can in terms of repatriation efforts, but consular assistance on the ground in Ukraine is limited.
My heart goes out to the family and friends of the gentleman involved.
Only a handful of Australians have died in the war in Ukraine, perishing in the pursuit of peace. Garth Burley, 7 News.
And Vladimir Putin has demanded the evacuation of civilians from a Russian-occupied city in Ukraine, fueling speculation his forces will try to hold Kherson at any cost. Russian soldiers there are digging in as their military targets Ukrainian energy infrastructure, causing blackouts heading into winter.
President Putin seems to have decided that if he can't seize Ukraine by force, he will try to freeze it into submission.
The US is sending Ukraine another $600 million in military aid. There's an unfolding tragedy in Canberra tonight. A mother and her young son have been found dead in a pond next to a family park. There are grave concerns for the family's other child, who is still missing.
A family park tonight at the centre of a crime scene. A mother and her young son found dead in a pond in Canberra's northern suburb of Gungahlin.
We have grave concerns for a third person, another young child who we are currently searching for.
The young child, 8-year-old Pranav Vivekanandan, believed to be the other son.
Obviously a tragic situation. It's still very early days and it's unfolding.
Launching a marathon rescue mission, SES and the dog squad scaled nearby bushland while police divers searched underwater and drones hunted from the sky.
It is a distressing situation for first responders.
Among the clues, a white Subaru abandoned near a playground, seized by police.
As you say, this is a lovely family area and a lot of people come here with their children. Nothing worse than when kids get their life cut short.
It's a tragedy. Superfluous to say anything else.
While the land search has finished, police divers could continue scaling the pond for days to come, telling 7 News they'll do whatever it takes. In a desperate bid to find little Pranav and piece together how a mother and her son could meet such a tragic end. Rachel Baxter, 7 News.
A factory fire in Melbourne's west this afternoon has uncovered a secret cannabis grow house. Firefighters were called after reports of a blaze in a bakery factory this afternoon. Nearby residents and workers had to escape as thick black smoke blanketed the street. Fire Rescue Victoria extinguished the blaze and, when searching the property, found a number of cannabis plants. No arrests have been made. Twitter's new boss, Elon Musk, has culled almost half the company's workforce. Thousands of staff, some from Australia, say the first they knew was when they were locked out of their own accounts.
Behind the walls of Twitter HQ, chaos and uncertainty.
Twitter employees are waking up to company emails telling them whether they still have their job after Elon Musk took over the company.
A Twitter storm from sacked employees. Looks like I'm unemployed, y'all, one wrote. 8 months pregnant and have a 9-month-old. Just got cut off from laptop access. Job cuts hitting Twitter's Sydney office and the UK too.
It seems difficult to me to understand how you would be able to correctly evaluate so many people's positions.
Billionaire Elon Musk culling the company's 7,500 strong workforce days after taking over.
Twitter was having pretty serious revenue challenges and cost challenges before the acquisition talks started. And any company that is dependent on advertising has had a hard time.
Made harder with major corporations pulling advertising dollars from the platform.
They don't want their logos alongside anti-Semitic tweets or, neo-Nazi content.
A staff purge coming ahead of Tuesday's midterm elections, with Americans set to vote on which party will control each chamber of Congress.
Using Twitter as a trustworthy source of information on Tuesday is going to be a nightmare.
Sacked employees are now suing Twitter, saying Musk failed to give them enough notice of a mass layoff. In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
60,000 punters were at Flemington for the final day of the Spring Carnival. The $3 million Champion Stakes is the Spring Carnival's grand final for Australia's best middle distance horses. There was plenty of entertainment for crowds, including Birds of Tokyo, who put on a show for the family day.
People are back on track with their family and friends, enjoying racing, enjoying being together for the first time for 3 years, really.
More than 200,000 people attended Flemington over the entire Spring Carnival. And Abby Jelmy, the champions on the track, came out to play at Flemington.
They certainly did, Blake. There were upsets in 2 of the feature races of the day. And ahead in sport, Jamie Carr goes back-to-back in the Champion Stakes.
He did what he likes doing best, and that's rolling along, and we saw the superstar. Solcombe wins it, second Lindsay.
And they weren't the only ones celebrating, with a few Tigers jumping for joy with a new Melbourne Cup favourite.
We were absolutely sweating and nervous. A few comments came out about being more nervous today than prior to grand finals.
The Aussies left praying for a miracle to keep their World Cup hopes alive. And an ankle-breaking day for Kevin Durant, while another star creates history, 60 years in the making. And we have the AFL finals coming up too, Blake.
Plenty more. See you soon, Abby. Thank you. Businesses in the city's north are counting the cost of a shocking crash. Next, we have breaking news on the police investigation, plus the eyebrow-raising plan to scrap 2 of the state's major prisons. A group of Australians retrace history, honouring our fallen soldiers in Kokoda, and later, cars put to the ultimate test to slash our road toll. Police have accused a driver of putting lives at risk when he mounted a footpath and smashed into shops in Melbourne's north. Sarah Jane Bell has today's developments. Sarah Jane, he faces a long list of charges.
A 30-year-old Craigieburn man has been charged with 8 offences after he allegedly drove onto the footpath and crashed into shops, narrowly missing pedestrians in Campbellfield. Police had tried to stop the white Volkswagen on a Barry Road before the car mounted the curb shortly after 2:30 yesterday afternoon. The incident left a man aged in his 70s requiring medical treatment after he was hit by a shopping trolley. The accused was arrested at the scene and has been charged with reckless conduct, endangering life, driving whilst disqualified, driving with prescribed concentration of drugs present, and handling stolen goods. The Craigieburn man will appear in court on Monday.
Sarah Jane, thank you. The Greens have raised eyebrows with an election pledge to close prisons. The minor party has earmarked 2 jails for closure next year, Maximum Security Barwon and Loddon near Castlemaine.
If you close prisons, what do you do with the prisoners?
We should be redeploying the billions we're spending on police and prisons onto services that are shown to prevent crime, like public housing, early intervention, mental health care.
The Greens say Victoria's jails are currently only 3/4 full, so prisoners from closed jails could be moved elsewhere. An Aboriginal man in Perth has been bashed in what he claims is a racist attack just a week after the death of 15-year-old Cassius Turvey. As Kate Massey reports, the shocking violence was caught on camera and a warning it may be confronting.
22-year-old Leon Sutton was left beaten and bruised after being attacked by several strangers in what he says was a racially motivated incident. This shocking vision shows the 22-year-old being dragged along the ground for several metres, having his shirt ripped off before being beaten. One man armed with a metal pole was also captured running off to chase Leon's younger brother-in-law down the street. The ambush happened as the pair were riding their scooters to the shops in the early hours of the morning. Leon says his attackers followed them in the car before stopping and chasing them on foot, yelling racial slurs and wrongly accusing them of robbing a home. This violence happened 2 weeks ago, shortly after the attack on 15-year-old Indigenous schoolboy Cassius Turvey, who was bashed while walking home from school with his friends. He was taken to hospital but died 10 days later from his injuries. Leon Sutton's attackers haven't yet been found, but police say it's very much an ongoing investigation.
Thanks, Kate. Cricket great and former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has spoken out after surviving an apparent assassination attempt. Shot in the leg during a rally, he's accused the current PM of playing a role in a plot to kill him.
How am I supposed to get justice? I know these people did it because I have information from within. My source was from within the institution which told me.
Last month, Khan was disqualified from holding public office. World War II descendants have joined younger combat veterans in a unique tribute to mark 80 years since victory on the Kokoda track. They've retraced our diggers' steps, recreating the conditions and hardships.
From 15 Aussies, the ultimate tribute, walking the Kokoda track in World War II uniforms, eating similar food, carrying similar packs and weapons as the diggers 80 years ago.
Killing me, but I'm loving it.
They move up through the dim, dank, steaming jungle. The rarely seen enemy is close.
They crossed the same rivers, battled the same conditions.
Rain, sheeting down, every day, monotonously.
Socks, shoes, toenails, everything's all wet, everything's dead.
Most are descendants of World War II diggers or veterans themselves. Each adopted the identity of a Kokoda hero.
I'm representing a Tasmanian fella, Clarence Dobson.
Clarence survived the war, an inspiration here.
I tried to draw on Clarence. I was just talking to him a minute ago to help me get up this wretched terrain.
At commemorations for the 80th anniversary at Kokoda Village, they now have a far greater admiration for these heroes. Historian David Howell represented Captain Claude Thorne, killed on the track.
I'm absolutely exhausted, so are the men in my charge, carrying, living and breathing what they did in World War II. And I can only imagine what it would have been like with this adversity on top of having men trying to kill you in the bush.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
A bride wakes to a nightmare on her big day. See the trail of destruction as her car is targeted in a Richmond rampage. Legal trouble brews for one of Australia's best-known bookmakers. The 83-year-old black belt proving age is no barrier. And all that glitters is not gold. We go inside Australia's biggest pink diamond collection. A Melbourne bride has woken to find she's the victim of a vandalism rampage on her wedding day. The culprit smashed a number of cars in Richmond, leaving damage worth thousands.
Waking up to say I do didn't go as planned for Kate Meehan.
I woke up to a big sort of crash, the sound of breaking glass and sort of thumping.
It wasn't until she set off on what should have been a calming wedding day morning walk that she realised her car had been vandalised.
I discovered that my windscreen had a big hole in it.
Forced to make 2 unplanned calls on her special day. One to the police, the other to her husband-to-be.
I wasn't planning on talking to him today, and then as soon as it happened, I felt the need to speak to him because I was a little bit stressed.
Kate's car was one of 6 damaged in a violent rampage in Richmond overnight. Dan Tarr is also dealing with the consequences, and it's not for the first time.
I feel terrible. They happened this one about twice before on the pandemic.
The latest in a series of vehicle crime sprees in Richmond. Last time, a serial slasher hit the tyres on dozens of vehicles.
It's not good for everybody on the street.
Lennox Street wasn't the vandals' only target. Around the corner on Tanner Street, another car was damaged, and further down, the side mirrors were ripped off at 2 more vehicles.
Police are investigating the criminal damages and are urging anyone with information to come forward. Like the bride, the victims are hoping insurance will cover the costs.
Fingers crossed If not, we might have to dip into the honeymoon fund.
Sarah Jane Bell, 7 News.
Racing bookmaker Robbie Waterhouse could be fined more than $120,000 after allegedly encouraging a customer to continue betting despite requests for their account to be closed. Waterhouse now faces 11 charges for his alleged breach of betting and racing laws. Police are looking for a man missing in the state's northeast. The alarm was raised when Kenny, who's 49, failed to log on for work in Euroa on Monday. Police say he only recently moved to the area. It's believed Kenny could be travelling on his black Yamaha motorcycle with the number plate 2E1FI. A grandmother is proving age is no limit when it comes to martial prowess. She took up karate as a hobby with her family, and now at 83, she's just earned her black belt.
Kim Challender doesn't move like a regular 83-year-old. This granny with grunt packs a mean punch. So good, she's just earned her black belt.
It's invigorating, it's friendly, it makes you want to come back all the time.
And she's done just that for 7 years, kicking her way to the top from a white belt.
10 stages, different coloured belts. You work your way up.
It started as a family hobby with her daughter and 5-year-old granddaughter.
There was an ad in the paper, I think, and my daughter said, "Come on, Mum, they're opening up a karate hall." Oh, right, OK, I'm coming.
Now it not only keeps her fit, but safe. She's a granny you wouldn't want to mess with. Her teacher says Kim's age is no limit.
She's still training and going strong. We've got senseis in Brisbane and in the US and elsewhere who are, approaching 90, some of them 90 years old, and still training.
Kim says she'll keep at it for as long as she's alive and kicking.
I'll do it until I die. I'll be coming in here in a wheelchair.
She'll forever be a karate kid at heart. Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
The largest collection of Australian pink diamonds has been unveiled in Melbourne. The museum will be home to over 100 unique gemstones found in the WA mines for the next 8 weeks. Among them, one of the rarest jewels in the world, the Argyle Violet, worth more than $4 million.
Of all the diamonds that have been found in the Kimberley, only 20 of them have been of that violet colour, so they're exceptionally rare.
Pink diamonds are no longer sourced in Australia. The Argyle mine closed in 2020. Homes and businesses are under threat from floodwaters. Next, the latest on the unfolding emergency in New South Wales. The new high-tech help designed to keep our most vulnerable road users safe. The shocking 100-car pile-up as snow causes mayhem in the US. And a kiss on the cheek at the centre of a royal etiquette fail. Homes and businesses are under siege from floodwaters in the New South Wales town of Forbes. There are 20 emergency warnings in place as river levels edge towards a record high.
The island of Forbes. Residents woke to find the town cut off in all directions and floodwaters still rising. RFS trucks ferrying the stranded forced to stop at midday when it became too dangerous. Now the only way is by boat, including for this man in his 80s taken to hospital short of breath. Across much of Forbes, home after home is inundated. After renovating her house, Jo Holmes only moved in last week.
Yeah, spare bedroom there.
She woke to the sound of water at 4 a.m.
The water just seeping in underneath the house. 6 o'clock this morning, it was basically right through everywhere.
With the help of friends, her furniture was saved. But as for her home improvements...
It's time to start again, rip everything up and start again. Yeah.
Hard. Heartbreak also at the local caravan park. Residents had obeyed evacuation orders. Chickens and birds also safe.
But they're all perched up. Yeah, you're right.
Locals say they haven't seen a flood like this before. Across the Riverina, farms are underwater.
As farmers, we're expecting a bumper harvest this year, and that's all just been destroyed.
Among those crops, a multi-million-dollar cotton harvest, ripe for the picking, but it's too wet to allow the machinery in. The floods may have peaked, but this water isn't going anywhere. It's expected to remain at this level until early next week. Among those rescued, a pregnant woman whose waters broke, taken to Forbes Hospital by the SES this afternoon, delivering a healthy baby boy. Many flood victims now face an agonising wait to return home. Others already know what's ahead of them.
It's absolutely devastating to see everything under like that.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
New car safety features will soon be put to the test as engineers work out ways to slash the road toll. The latest technology will help protect our most vulnerable road users, including children and cyclists.
Head-on smashes, pedestrian safety, motorcycle detection. The latest high-tech car safety features will be put through their paces to help save our most vulnerable road users.
From 2023, ANCAP will be focusing on a wider range of pedestrian crash avoidance scenarios, so we'll be looking at autonomous emergency braking.
The focus is also on saving cyclists and children. New testing will assess various alerts that warn drivers when young passengers are left in cars or if a child is standing behind a vehicle. As car manufacturers chase coveted 5-star safety ratings, they'll also be assessed on escapability when a car becomes submerged.
In the last 12 months, 88% of vehicles that have been tested by ANCAP have achieved 5-star, and we see that manufacturers are designing their vehicles already with the 2023 protocols in mind.
Some road safety experts say the new criteria doesn't go far enough. They're calling for rollover crashworthiness testing as well as the use of speed restriction devices.
We need intelligent speed control on cars. They have that in Europe. It's coming in Europe, and we desperately need that here.
It's believed governing the speed of young drivers could prevent tragedies such as the horrific crash southwest of Sydney in September, which claimed the lives of 5 teenagers.
Some of my cases are these severe high-speed crashes, and I'm absolutely certain it'll save a lot of lives.
In the last 12 months, 233 motorcyclists have died on Australian roads, with pedestrians and cyclists making up 15% of road fatalities. The new crash avoidance and safety technologies will be used to test vehicles from January. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
The first snowfall of the season in the US city of Denver has caused nothing short of mayhem on the city's roads. 100 cars were involved in this pile-up, leaving drivers sliding on black ice in a chain reaction crash. Incredibly, just minor injuries were reported. King Charles' new title appears to take some getting used to. Designer Stella McCartney broke royal protocol, embracing the king with kisses to the cheek.
Your Majesty, I don't know what to do anymore. I think I'm supposed to do this now.
Charles had been welcoming 200 guests to Buckingham Palace ahead of the COP27 summit. Abby's back with sport. Abby, the favourites upstaged on a big day at Flemington.
Well, Blake, a star jockey fell just short of a Cup Carnival record, but the day belonged to Annabelle Neasham and Zaki, who stole the show in the stakes. Why some Tigers premiership stars were jumping for joy at Flemington. The Aussies under fire for leaving one of their main weapons on the sidelines, now needing a World Cup miracle. And Kevin Durant lights up the NBA. Welcome back. Annabelle Neasham and Zaki combined to exact revenge on Animo, storming home to go back-to-back in the Champion Stakes at Flemington. There was also a boil-over in the sprint, with hot favourite Nature Strip upstaged.
Animo and James McDonald had history in their sights, reuniting with fierce rival Zaki, who overcame a rocky start on the way out to the barrier to lead from start to finish in the feature race.
Still Zaki, Zaki holding on, Zaki back to back, Zaki wins it.
Annabelle Neasham getting her revenge after Cox Plate heartache.
That's the way to ride him. I said, you're going to lead at all costs today, we're not going to die wandering.
It's redemption for jockey Jamie Carr, who missed last year's carnival and Zaki's stakes win through suspension.
He's just taken me for this amazing ride, and you know, you don't get to sit on superstars like this often, and I've been lucky enough to be along for the journey with him.
There was another boil over in the Champion Sprint.
Nature Strip's going to have to lift. Rocket Horse, the centre just in front of Nature Strip. Rocket Horse Rockin' Horse has won it.
Kiwi mare Rockin' Horse upset Nature Strip and Everest winner Giga Kick 8 months after claiming the Newmarket handicap as a 100-to-1 outsider.
She's a very, very good mare, and we knew it was no fluke, the Newmarket. We were quite happy to take them on today.
Champion trainer Gay Waterhouse has Royal Ascot in her sights after Alligator Blood took out the Group 1 Champions Mile.
100 metres to go, still clear from Tuvalu. Alligator Blood holding on, the Alligator wins.
Natalie Yannidis, 7 News.
A few Tigers stars had plenty of reasons to celebrate at Flemington, with Jack Riewoldt, Liam Baker, Nathan Broad and Jack Graham each having a small share of European import Salcombe, who stormed home in the Queen's Cup.
But Salcombe is going to dart clear and is a little bit too good for them. Salcombe wins it.
We were absolutely sweating and nervous. A few comments came out about being more nervous today than prior to grand finals, but it was what a win. We're very excited.
And they could be partying even harder next year, with Salcombe equal favourite for the Melbourne Cup. Meanwhile, Cats Premiership star Tom Hawkins says he'll be ready to go for round 1, sporting a moon boot after having foot surgery. Australia has come under fire for leaving spearhead Mitch Starc out of last night's narrow T20 win over Afghanistan. Only a shock loss by England tonight against Sri Lanka will save the Aussies and see them progress to the World Cup semis.
A close shave against Afghanistan. The reigning champs now cheering on Sri Lanka tonight against England.
Yeah, we're obviously put ourselves in this situation, but yeah, hopefully Sri Lanka can do the job for us.
A hamstrung Aaron Finch watched Cameron Green open, making just 3, but at 23, he's the future. His partner playing right-handed just ain't right.
Oh, he got funky, didn't he, David Warner?
From 30 balls, Mitch Marsh went big, bashing 45. Maxwell, the mainstay, 36 of his 54 from boundaries, but batting and bowling charts this World Cup feature no Aussies.
I don't think we've got any batters in the top 5 or 6 or 10 run scorers. We haven't probably got the high wicket takers either.
At number 1, the big show's fielding.
It's a strong throw for Maxwell, and it's an exceptional throw. Maxwell, when the pressure was on.
3 wickets, no runs, a collapse triggered by Adam Zampa, a bench Mitchell Starc replaced by Kane Richardson, belted for 12 and over. Stuart Broad tweeted, "Please tell me Starc is injured, he's a beast in this format, wicket taker, game changer." Fellow great Mark Waugh, "Starc should be playing, he is an aggressive wicket taking bowler, Richardson more of a holding type bowler. Aggression that could have curbed Rashid Khan."
Oh, shot!
A whirlwind 48, Afghanistan 4 runs shy of the upset of the tournament. If England win tonight, last night's man of the match summed up Australia's title defence.
Just probably missed the big moments probably too many times.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Richmond's unbeaten run of 6 games has come to an end. The Tigers were no match for Brisbane, despite some early sharp shooting from their skipper, Katie Brennan, going down by 17 points in the qualifying final.
And the minor premiers take another step towards reclaiming their throne. The Brisbane Lions through to a home preliminary final.
Last night, the Demons booked their place in the preliminary finals with a 21-point win over reigning premiers Adelaide. Tonight, it's the Cats and the Kangaroos going head-to-head in an elimination final. After news at 7 p.m. on 7 Mate. Melbourne City are on track to keep a hold of top spot on the A-League ladder. With the Socceroos World Cup squad being announced on Tuesday, Damien McLaren starred with his 6th goal of the season against Perth.
But guess who finishes it? Him again, Jamie McLaren, who maintains his records of scoring in every game so far this season.
He then scored from the penalty spot, with City leading 2-0 nearing full time. Meanwhile, Portuguese sensation Luis Nani took centre stage last night for victory, earning a penalty. Melbourne slotting 4 goals past Newcastle, snapping a 2-game losing streak. And Nike is the latest brand to pull its sponsorship with net star Kyrie Irving, who continues to create a stir after sharing an anti-Semitic post on social media. On court, it was his Brooklyn teammate Kevin Durant who was shaking things up.
Oh, ankle breaker! KD! Oh my goodness, Kevin Durant is a
a different dude. Take a look at that.
The Nets thumped Washington 128-86. And Luka Doncic scored 35 points in the Mavericks' win over Toronto, a record 8th game straight with 30-plus points, tying him with Wilt Chamberlain for the longest streak in NBA history, set 60 years ago. My goodness, you'd want to have him on your team.
Wouldn't you just? Abby, thank you. Today's was the city's first completely dry day in a fortnight. Sonia, that is a remarkable stat. We're now in a warming trend.
It certainly is, Blake, something we've all been waiting for. The spring warmth finally on its way, and there's more sunshine too in the forecast. Details up next. How good is that? Hello again. The temperature is finally rising. Today's warmth just the start of an above average stretch of heat. We've got high 20 maximums in your forecast, but there is a potential for humid showers and storms on several days next week. For now, though, we've got a good dose of Saturday sunshine in between today's clouds. The city warmed to a high of 22.7. It got to 23 in Essendon, 24 in Viewbank, 21 in Moorabbin, 20 over in Geelong. Lovely tonight. The sun's still out. It's nice and calm and we're holding close to 20 degrees. Staying dry overnight, the city drops to a low of 12. It was a dry start to the weekend across most of the state this afternoon. There were some showers through eastern Victoria, only a sprinkling, otherwise a mild to warm day under partly cloudy skies. It is going to get warmer thanks to this large area of high pressure which parks here over the Tasman for a few days. It'll bathe the state in warm northerly winds. It's blowing in from central Australia. Yellow show temperatures in the 20s. Pink is the low 30s. At this stage, the heat does peak on Wednesday. Here in the city, there is a pattern change from Thursday onwards when the risk of showers increases and possible storms also add to the mix, but it's not impacting the temperature. The average November high, 22 degrees. We're staying well above that at least for the next 7 days. To Sunday's forecast now, we're starting around the nation. Warm with a chance of a shower in Brisbane. Nice and dry over Sydney. It is heating up over in Adelaide. That heat eventually heading our way. In the meantime, we are looking at a mild to warm Sunday across the state. Skies partly cloudy. We're under a light northerly wind. Some patchy fog to start with down in the southeast. There'll be some showers through the east, increasing more than we saw today. So up to 5 millimetres worth, but 10 to 15 millimetres under isolated thunderstorms. We may get some showers developing over the Dandenongs, pushing down into the northeastern suburbs. Only a small chance, though, for the rest of us. We are starting the day around 10 or 11 degrees. Sunny breaks in between the cloud. Most spots heading for a nice 25 degrees. Geelong rising to 24. It should stay dry here in the city. In fact, it's a beautiful day to head in. Sunny breaks, light winds, a Sunday high of 25 degrees. We head for 25 again on Monday. A medium chance of showers in the city and a possible rumble of thunder. Tuesday is dry, mostly sunny. We've got a top of 27 degrees. We're rising to 29 on Wednesday, mostly sunny. How good does that look in the forecast? Thursday, that is our changing day. Still 27, but with a possible shower. Showers increase on Friday into Saturday, but it's not going to be cold. We've got a top of 25 to start with next weekend. So the warmer weather is what we've been waiting for. A top of 25 tomorrow, looking really good with light winds and sunny breaks. Then it's heating up next week. We're getting close to 30. The last time that happened back in April. I say bring it on.
It is a very good looking forecast.
It's fantastic.
Thank you, Son. That is 7 News. Thanks for making us part of your Saturday. From the Melbourne News team, good night.